Raphaël Melançon, political analyst for Noovo, CTV Montreal, is in studio today. Thank you for coming in.
Good afternoon, Aaron.
Nice to see you. We're going to talk, about a couple of things. I want to start by talking, obviously, about what happened in the by-election in Arthabaska. There had been so much run-up to this in terms of, what if he wins? What if and Eric Duhem, and he's going to have a seat in the National Assembly? Well, nothing kind of worked out according to plan, unless, of course, you happen to be Paul St. Pierre Plamondon.
Of course.
In which case, there you go. Another member. So what's that, 6 now? In the National Assembly for the PQ. What's the bigger story here? Is it how poorly the CAQ did, or how disappointing Eric Duhem must feel now after not winning this?
Well, I think the biggest surprise was how far Eric Duhem was in the end, because everybody knew the CAQ was not in the race this time. Even though this is a riding that they've won consecutively since the creation of the party, Arthabaska, they've won with huge majorities over and over every single election they've fought in Arthabaska until this week. Even the last election was 50%. The previous one was 60% of the votes. So they had strong support back in the days there. But we knew they were going to lose. Now, the extent to which they were going to lose, now 7%, fourth behind the Liberals, that's a huge, humiliating slap in the face for François Legault. And it shows the extent to which Quebecers currently, and Francophones specifically in the riding of Arthabaska, are judging his government at the moment. So it's a signal to the CAQ as a party that your party right now is going nowhere, and if you continue like that into the next election next year, you're going to face a historic defeat like we have not seen in recent history in Quebec politics. On the other side now, polls and projections suggested multiple times that Duhem, the Conservative leader, was neck and neck with the PQ candidate Alex Boissonnault in Arthabaska. Now, the results show clearly that he was not. He was far away, 10 points behind the PQ, actually. So it shows also that he has issues getting his message across to the population in general.
And why do you think that is? I mean, he's an ex-radio guy, he's a communicator.
Yeah.
What's lacking here for him?
I think the problem is with his party and the ideas that he defended in the past. I think people still see him as the guy who was against vaccines and who was siding with the anti-vax and the anti-mask of this world, the conspirationist and stuff like that. So he's seen by a lot of people as being toxic. He's seen as being probably too radical to a lot of people. And also, let's not forget, in a by-election, it's also about getting out the vote, your strategy to get out your vote. And in the end, his small party, it's still a marginal party, was facing a huge electoral machine with the PQ. They have an army of volunteers who were knocking door to door throughout the election in Arthabaska. They got out the vote very, very well, both in advanced polls and in the regular polls, and that's why they won in the end.
So what does this mean for the future then? Never mind François Legault, who's out shaking hands now and trying to find out from people, apparently man on the street, exactly what he's doing wrong. Is Eric Duhem done? At some point when you're the leader of a party, even if it's, as you say, a marginal party in the sense of they have no presence in the National Assembly, at some point the people who are in that party look and go, you know what? You're not. It's kind of like Pierre Poilievre almost in a sense, right? You're the guy, and I don't even think you could name 2 other conservative members in the provincial, party. But do they say to him, okay, you're not the guy to lead us to where we need to go, or do you just keep hanging on to Eric Duhem?
That could happen, and I've seen, I mean, if you look at the reaction from members of his party on social media since Monday, it's pretty clear that a lot of them think that he's no longer the leader that they need, and they see him as being too weak, as being not conservative enough. That's a lot of the comments that I've seen on social media from members of his party who would want him to be even more to the right than he is actually. So yes, there are certainly internal questions that will be raised within the ranks of the Conservative Party, the Provincial Conservative Party, as much as there should be questions raised internally on the CAQ's side right now, because it clearly, at some point, there's going to be panic within the caucus of the CAQ. If not already, there might be some people panicking because you have right now 86 MNAs that are really at risk of losing their job next year.
We were chatting just before we went on air, and you said, this would be a third term for François Legault were he to run in 2026 as leader of the party. And you harkened back to a time when he said, I only want to serve 2 terms.
Absolutely. François Legault promised he would only serve 2 terms. He said it multiple times at the beginning of his first term. And I think, you know what? I agree with that. I think politicians, most of the time, do not master the art of knowing when it's time for you to leave. And François Legault has been there for 7 years. Yes, there have been unpredictable events like the pandemic that did have an impact on his first term specifically. But still, 2 terms to me is enough. And oftentimes in politics, the third term is the term too much. If you stay too long, you're going to scrap your legacy. And right now, what we see is François Legault trying to remain as leader of the CAQ as much as he can. And what he's going to do basically is it's a party that he created himself. It's his baby. I understand it's harsh for somebody to say, okay, I'm going to leave. But the only thing that could potentially save his party is him leaving in the next few months to allow his party to have a leadership convention, elect a new leader, and maybe stand a chance at saving some of the seats that they have in the National Assembly.
But, you know, it's funny when you talk about visibility, because that's kind of important whether we want to admit it or not in politics. I look around, and we've sort of mused before over, well, who might be the leader of the CAQ if it's not François Legault? Pierre Fitzgibbon left politics. Geneviève Guilbeault right now, who rumored to be possibly successor, is so embroiled in this SAC-CLIC controversy.
No, but she'd certainly be interested.
But she's also going to be showing up at the Gallant Commission. That's a bad look to begin with. Even if she's not involved, why is she testifying here? She was the minister at the time. So maybe scratch her off the list. Sonia Lebel, is she going to...
Oh, Sonia Lebel, I think she would be a serious contender, to be honest. She's likable. She has this aura still of someone who has been part of the Charbonneau Commission. Yeah. I mean, in terms of ethics, she's hard to attack. She's solid. And everywhere she's been as a minister, she delivered. So I think she would be a serious contender. Of course, you could think also, I know a lot of people who are listening at home right now don't like him, but Simon-Jean Barrette would certainly be a contender for the CAQ. Who knows?
No, really?
Yeah, well,
he just rubs people the wrong way, and I don't think it matters who those people are.
But many francophones like him and like his ideas. So it's not the same view among francophones compared to how anglophones see him, of course. And I would say also maybe, who knows, Bernard Drinville. But you know, I think his return in politics has been pretty difficult so far. He's not necessarily the best as education minister. He's done multiple
You're being
mistakes.
Very charitable, saying he's not necessarily the best.
Thank you. But I mean, you're right. He's been awful as education minister so far. He's done multiple mistakes. So I think he would not be necessarily one of the top contenders. Another one who is rumored is Mario Dumont, the former leader of the EDQ. But I don't see Mario Dumont leaving the stability he has right now in Francophone media to go and run for the CAQ and maybe get defeated in the next election. So why would he do that? But there are rumors right now circulating that Mario Dumont might be interested to succeed François Legault as leader of the CAQ.
You know, I want to talk a bit about what's going on municipally, but obviously this is a big issue. What happened now and François Legault, who maintains, by the way, whenever asked, I'm not going anywhere. I will be here. I will run. I don't think a lot of people are believing that. Maybe fewer people believe that now than did only a week ago before the by-election. But municipally,
is it going to be, Aaron, is it going to be his decision? Because look at what happened on the federal stage. Just a year ago, Justin Trudeau was about at the same place as François Legault is at the moment. He had lost 2 strongholds in by-elections. And panic started to rise within his own ranks, and eventually his party showed him the door. So that's what happened with Justin Trudeau. So I think if François Legault doesn't make the decision himself to leave, eventually within the next 6 months or so, his party is eventually going to kick him out.
But
and
this
that's
is his party. It's his party. He's founded the party.
And that's why I say, for the sake of the potential survival of his party, he should be the one choosing to sacrifice himself, saying, I'm going to let somebody else lead that party and maybe stand a chance at, who knows, winning the next election. That's what the Liberals did. Last year, nobody would have bet $100 on the Liberals winning a majority. Now, see, they've changed leaders, and just in a couple months, they were back with a majority in the House of Commons. So that, who knows, that could maybe happen with the CAQ.
Still a long, as they say, right, a year's forever in politics, right? We're still over a year away.
Absolutely.
So before we run out of time, let me talk about municipally what's going on. I had Soraya Martinez yesterday on the show. Mm-hmm. She talked about the bike path. This is a big issue for a lot of people, including me. I bring this up all the time because I think, Projet Montréal, as ideological as they are with respect to bike paths, someone who is going to defeat Projet Montréal has to have a bit of a different approach, I would think.
That's right.
She's talking about an audit of the bike network, which is kind of a safe way of saying, we'll take a look at it, but there are no promises inherent in saying going to do that, right? So far from what you've seen, we have Soraya Martinez Ferreira, you have Luc Rabouin running for Projet, Craig Sauvé, who's going to run for his own party, and I think serious candidates, that's all we have so far. What have you seen so far that makes you think that Soraya perhaps has a chance to win? Are you impressed by what you've seen? What do you think? Nothing.
I've seen nothing so far of Soraya Martinez that makes me think that she stands a chance at winning the next election in November in Montreal. To be honest with you, and I'm sad to say this, I would love, for the sake of democracy, I would love people to have multiple options to choose from in November. But right now, all we have in Montreal are parties that are basically to the center, left of the spectrum, that are all talking about basically the same things. And to hear Soraya Martinez come out with a big press conference like that to say we're going to conduct an audit, that's not a stance. You're talking like a bureaucrat. That's not what what's going to make people come out of their houses and go to vote for you. I don't hear anyone since that press conference telling me, this is something, I might be interested now. And if I had Soraya Martinez in front of me, my question would be, what's the strategy? Because if you look at what Valérie Plante, because Soraya Martinez is basically unknown to the general public. Yes, she has been a junior minister for a short time under Justin Trudeau, but to the majority of Montreal voters, she is completely
except for
unknown.
Where she was a council
person.
Yes,
of course. But in the rest of the city, she has to get people to know her better. And so far, I have not seen the wow effect that you need to have so people remember you. And Valérie Plante, when she came into politics in 2017 against Denis Coderre, nobody thought she stood a chance. But then she came up with that campaign, the man of the situation, l'homme de la situation, the right man for the job, and all of a sudden people started to pick up interest in her, and she was likable. She had that freshness, airiness. She was smiling. She was approachable, and eventually people got seduced by her. I don't see that in the personality of Madame Martinez. On top of that, it's not just about the messages, how she delivers the messages, but it's also a question of character. She's very beige. And she does not stand out so far. So the way she delivered, Denis Coderre had that clip effect. He was able to summarize something in 10, 15 seconds, and that was the clip that the media was going to take.
Right.
She doesn't have that.
Okay, we will leave it at that. We will see what happens going forward. We have a long way to go. It's not till
Absolutely.
November. Raphaël, thank you so much.